Welcome to the 1905 podcast, home of the world champions, Chelsea. Each week, Joe and I bring you our unfiltered takes on the highs, the lows, and everything in between, following the Blues from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. Final whistle has literally just gone. Brentford 2, Chelsea 2, and I thought this was going to be quite a different note about 3 minutes ago, looking like we'd come through and nicked what would have been a really good 3 points, but such a terrible goal to give away at the end, wasn't it? You work so hard in the second half to get yourselves back into the game, get in front with two really, really good finishes, and then give away a really shit goal. I mean, we looked vulnerable all night, didn't we? From every long throw. Obviously, they were an absolute weapon, but you knew it was coming. And every long throw, every long free kick and corner that went in, they looked vulnerable. I thought actually, generally over the course of the game, Rob Sánchez particularly dealt with it well, but it was crap. Really, really shit goal to give away at the end like that. And even the actual giving away of the throw was poor. It was looked like a bit of lack of communication between Reece and Neto. You've got 2 minutes left. Just do anything you can not to give them more chances to put the ball in the box. And it was, really, really poor. And yet again, we don't beat Brentford away. They are a bit of a bogey side for us, aren't they? Didn't seem to matter who the manager is. There's a lot to break down in that game, and I'm not sure that my immediate sort of voice note is probably the best time to do it, because obviously you kind of, I'm just full of frustration right now. My fear is, and I'm sure Joe will talk more to this point because it's a passion point, but my fear again is this defence. And obviously that is the whole team. We look vulnerable too often at times this season already. And even in the games that we've won, there's been moments in those games where you thought, we're a little bit open. And it just happened time and time again. We've obviously, both goals that we've conceded are poor, but there were plenty of other chances there for Brentford, not even just from set pieces, but when they went through over the top. And I know that Joe will talk probably about the performances of probably Tosin in particular, and Fofana in the first half, and Hato, and he doesn't quite look quite ready yet, does he? He's not quite settled in yet, but there were quite a few concerns there in our control of the game. And obviously having got back in front as we did, the lack of control at that point was really poor. When you look at, we've seen great Chelsea teams in the past, you get in front and you basically just kill the game, keep the ball, and kind of like play it out. And we didn't do it. We were doing our best to waste time, obviously, but actually Brentford were coming forward plenty of times. And if it hadn't been for a couple of good saves by Sánchez, they might have even got a goal earlier. So a few concerns in that performance, maybe a bit of a reality check for us in terms of where we are this season. I think the concern has been, is this defence good enough to put a proper title challenge together? And it's very early days, very, very early days, but that concern, I think, was there for all to see tonight. And as you can probably tell from my voice, feeling a little bit disappointed with what I saw. In terms of the lineup, it came out, I'm sure the reaction that we had was the same as everyone else listening. It was like, okay, what is this lineup all about? Very strange on paper. You're trying to work out what it was going to look like. Obviously, it would have been done partly with probably Wednesday night in mind with Bayern Munich, partly because of all the international games and wanting fresh legs, and obviously also wanting to have plenty of height on the pitch with effectively three recognised centre-backs plus Hato, and I'm thinking we can deal with those long balls and stuff. But we were just so passive, weren't we, in that first half? Just so... it's the worst version of Chelsea, isn't it, under Maresca, when we're like that. You just feel like you're just watching the centre-backs pass it to each other and just slowly move the ball up the pitch. Everything was everyone was having too many touches, weren't they? Like 3 or 4 touches when it could be 1 and 2. And there was not a lot to like at all in that first half display. Credit to Maresca, because we were sort of saying privately that you'd hope he's going to do at least a couple of changes at half time. We went for 3, so he didn't muck around, and we were a very different side second half. And probably, did enough to get in front, certainly. But if I'm being honest, over the balance of the game, you'd have to say a draw was probably about the right result. So, it's obviously sickening when you concede in the 94th minute, as we did. So, quite a bit more to break down about that, I think. But I will end my note there, hand over to Joe. And a disappointing Saturday night and a disappointing result at Brentford yet again.
I think, Chris, I don't quite see it the way you saw it in some ways there in terms of how good Brentford were. I was angrily shouting at Jamie Redknapp on the TV because he's come out with sentences in the first half and after the game saying Brentford were magnificent, they were wonderful. If I'm watching a totally different game to everybody else, then I stand corrected. But all I saw from Brentford was an absolute whack up the field at any opportunity, a messy long throw into the box or a messy punt into the box from some outrageous angle that came to nothing, basically. We gave them nothing in the sense that they didn't have to create anything magnificent to get any goal against us. The first goal is just, okay, it's quite a nice pass through, but it's just one ball over the top. And as we saw against Fulham last time out, Tosin is absolutely, completely inept at defending 1v1. Josh King made him look really stupid, and then Sharders made him look really stupid tonight. He, I'm sorry to say, is not good enough. He's just not good enough. And we were banging the drum, and I don't want to go on and on about it because people will be like, oh, you're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing because it's fucking glaringly obvious that the two centre-backs, even though Trev had a half-decent game, are not good enough. They are simply not good enough. And when you add in the goalkeeper, who is an absolute, he gives you the jitters every time it goes near him. He does something mental. And to the point where he does come up with the odd fantastic save. No one's denying that. But even like in the second half, when he had to roll the ball out to Kukurea, he threw it 20 yards past him, and then Kukurea's out of position, and he gives the team a counter-attack when we have possession of the ball. He just drives you mad, and I think that until we rectify this problem, we're going to go nowhere fast. I've said it a lot on this podcast, but I'm sorry, neither one of Trev or Tosin are alphas. They need a partner to look after them, and until that changes, the Champions League worries the life out of me, because if you put the ball over the top against, if it looks like a team against Real Madrid with Mbappe chasing into it, or Barcelona with Yamal or whatever, goodness me, that's going to cause us all sorts of problems. I mean, you mentioned Hato, Chris. Again, not a knock on him. He was just sort of feeling his way into the game, never got quite into it. And then Fofana on the other side, he's a centre-half playing right back. I mean, what else can you say? We've got Gusto and Reece James sitting on the bench. We've got Fofana playing right back. Now, I know there's going to be people on here going, oh, Reece played 180 minutes for England. Oh, Gusto played for France. I don't care. I don't give him half a game each then. Give Gusto a half and Reece James a half. I do not see why we're experimenting at fucking right back when you've got two right backs on the bench. I'm sorry, it's unforgivable. And that I just dislike a lot. As for the game in general, I mean, the first half was completely forgettable from Chelsea's point of view once again. Now, you can start tallying these up. Crystal Palace at home, first half, dreadful. West Ham, not great. Came back into it, but not great. Fulham, poor, really, really poor in the first half. Made us look really, really silly. And then today against Brentford, really, really poor. I mean, disgracefully poor. Once again, just passing the ball in front of the Brentford defence all night long until we recycle possession back to the fullbacks again, and we go back to the two centre halves. We pass it between them before eventually overhitting a ball, which goes straight through to Geller. And that's basically what we did for the whole first 45 minutes. It was painful to watch. I mean, I was sitting here going, I thought we were past this stage. How can we go from the Club World Cup and all what happened there, the exciting football, the counter-attacking football, the slightly direct passes now and again? How can we go from that to this Sabutio-style football once again? This is a major problem for Chelsea. It seems year on year, it doesn't matter who the manager is, what the players are, we played the same ponderous way against these sorts of teams. And yes, Brentford have become an absolute bogey team. There's no question about it. But seriously, if I had to get a season ticket and watch Brentford play football season long, I would be like pulling my eyes out because it is absolutely atrocious to watch. Punts up the middle, just long throws every opportunity they get, hoping the ball bounces and ricochets in off someone's arse. I mean, it's the Premier League. I mean, come on. I mean, I know every style is worth its weight in gold in some ways, and that's kind of what makes football interesting. I get all that, and I sort of bang the drum a little bit. But this is just like, goodness me, it's Championship. It's worse than that. It's League One, League Two stuff. It really is. And what frustrates me is we've let them get away with it. You know, Garnacho at the back post completely falls asleep for that second goal, and you just think to yourself, like Chris said, you've battled your way into that game. You fought your way back into it. You didn't play very well. The second half was an improvement. But why go to sleep with a minute to go in the game? You've got a minute or two left in the game. Just follow your man in, knock it away for a corner if you have to, do whatever, but follow your man in. I mean, it's so poor. I'm not going to knock Garnacho as his first start to the game. And I actually thought for 12 minutes he did okay. He was a lot more effective than Gittins was. And the trouble is, you come on here after a game, you're emotional. You've just seen a team play. I was really pissed off at half time. I messaged Chris a few times, just really unhappy with the way we were playing. And this constant battle we have with not being able to break a team down that sit with a low block. I mean, it drives me mad because I think to myself, well, why don't we just go and buy the Brentford back four? If they're so fucking hard to break down, why don't we go and buy Pinnock and, Yarmuluk and whoever else is in that team? You think to myself, come on. We're making them look really, really good. I mean, I must say, I know why he's taken João Pedro off, because he's played for Brazil and what have you. But there's only 12 minutes to go. And if you're going to rely on someone to nod the ball in, it's going to be him. So the moment he went off, we had no aerial threat. There was a couple of free kicks that we could have tossed in for him. And we did, and ended up going straight out for a goal kick or out the netto, miscontrolled it. And I think to myself, why have we taken off the focal point? Like, wrap him up in cotton wool until Wednesday. Don't have 2 days off if you want to. Do whatever. But leave him on for 12 minutes. And this whole thing where Maresca's not the only manager that does this, but they gaslight us to buggery when they go, oh, Garnacho is not quite fit enough. He's not up to speed yet. But yet he still comes on and has 12 minutes. Like Garnacho couldn't come on and have half an hour. Is beyond me. It's like, don't talk utter shit. That really bugs. That gets my goat so bad when managers say that. He could have come on a lot earlier, and I think he would have been a real asset to us because Gittins was doing absolutely nothing on the left-hand side. I think George made a big difference. I think Palmer made a big difference. I mean, and talk about chances. I mean, my goodness me, Palmer, fantastic goal that he scored. The chance that he missed from Pedro Neto was just, I mean, it was unforgivable, really. I mean, that's basically an open goal. Look, let's go through a few good performances before I finish this voice note tonight and speak about it again tomorrow with the fresh eyes and fresh face and all the rest of it. I think Pedro Neto had a very good game. Again, he looks so dangerous on the right. He's a different player on the right than he is on the left. He cut in a few times, skinned his defender more than once. Some fantastic shots, some really good crosses from him, some cultured crosses as well, some nice ones to the back post, which we didn't quite make the most of. I thought Caicedo was everywhere again. Great performance from him. He didn't actually play that much for Ecuador because he got sent off in one game and he didn't play the first game due to injury. So he's only actually played 58 minutes for Ecuador this international window. But obviously with all the travel and stuff, he did fantastic yet again. His partner in crime, Enzo, oh, goodness me. I mean, his first half was one to forget yet again. He can't seem to put 90 minutes together. He has good moments in games. I thought his second half was much improved. He battled a lot more. There's a couple of really nice passes that he put through for Neto, particularly on the right-hand side. but just not enough. It's just not doing enough. And I think André Santos, fully deserved to come on in his place, really, because even though Enzo didn't travel this time around because he was suspended for Argentina, I think that he wasn't having a good game, and I think Fresh Legs would have done us pretty well in the middle of the park. I think Reece was superb when he came on in the second half, and Cucurella was really, really good in the second half. Unlucky not to score, but again, an absolute pest on that left-hand side. He's up and down all night long. He's such an improved fullback. My goodness me, he's really turning into a world-class player. But, who would have fucking thought that Reece James and Cucurella comes on, Cole Palmer comes on, that we look a different team? I mean, it's just beggars belief. And I know what Maurice's going to say. We've got Bayern Munich coming up. I need to rest players. Palmer's had an injury. Reece is coming back from injury. Blah, 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 blah. It's the same old stories. But unfortunately, this is the Premier League. And you've got to be able to play Saturday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Wednesday. You've got to be able to do it. And I'm going to say now, gone are the days where Chelsea could play a fairly weakened team in the Champions League and then play in the Premier League at the weekend and almost play a weakened team. The Premier League's too strong now. It's too strong. If you play a weakened team against anybody, you're likely to come unstuck. So if these players that have come in aren't quite up to speed yet, then they're going to need to get up to speed really, really fast, because on that left-hand side, Hato and Gittins have not impressed as of yet. Now, not knocking either of them, not going to get down on them, but they have to improve hugely because they are way off it at the moment. Tosin and Fofana, defensively, not good enough at the moment. Just simply not good enough. Sánchez has been okay. He didn't actually have a bad game tonight, but just gives you the heebie-jeebies. Every time he touches the ball, you think, what's he going to do next? He worries the life out of me. I mean, and I know we've sort of said we're happy with him because it's what we've got, but goodness me, he does worry the life out of me. And I think then just through the midfield, it's kind of, I think we need to see a bit more rotation. I think Enzo and Caicedo have been played into the ground too much. I think, it would have been a great opportunity to see Santos tonight. And don't get me started on Tarek George going on at centre forward, because I don't want to watch this anymore. We've got João Pedro. The lapse got injured, I know, but I don't know where Mark Gui was tonight, but for fuck's sake, he's a centre forward. George isn't. And I actually think George had a good game when he came on. I think he was actually quite involved, aggressive. He got behind players for the first time all night long. No other Chelsea winger had done that so far. Neto maybe slightly in the first half, but not much. And they kept moving him to centre forward, then out to the left, and back to centre. He's not a centre forward. I've seen him play a few times there live as well. He cannot play centre forward. It's not his role. And we shouldn't really be relying on him there because it's just not fair on the boy. I'll briefly mention the two fantastic strikes. Palmer's brilliant goal. I mean, it was a wonderful take. And to be honest, to come on as early as he did and get back amongst the goals, considering it was a goal from open play, which he hasn't done for a long, long time. And then that fantastic Caicedo goal. I mean, it really was a fabulous hit. I mean, I literally went berserk when that went in. I have to say, Chris, I like you, was thinking, yeah, that's probably done it now. But like you said, you were quite right there. The next 8 minutes was, we were so in control of that game. And then we just suddenly started booting the ball and giving it away, which is just so strange for a team that were in control for basically almost the whole game. We just sort of completely flapped, and again, a sign of inexperience. I hate to say it. But yeah, this is a fairly semi-negative note. I know I'm emotional tonight. I'm pissed off with what I've seen from a lot of it. I'm disappointed because I think, when you're 2-0 up with a few minutes to go, you have to see the game out. It's disappointing, particularly when you're playing against a side that just punt it long every 5 seconds. But I think we'll come on tomorrow with maybe a different head on and think about it a bit differently. But emotionally tonight, really disappointed. And I just think Maurice got a few things wrong there today. And he'd hoping for a 2-1 smash and grab, which was on the cards for a while. But overall, we shouldn't have to keep making 3 changes at half-time or 2 changes at half-time because the team's playing so poorly. That has got to change. I'm sorry, it's got to change. I mean, I know we've got a big squad, and I know he'll say we've got to use every player and all the rest of it. That I can sort of see. But if you're having to make 3 changes at half-time, then your selection has gone badly, badly wrong. And that has got to change severely. But listen, we'll leave it there tonight and try and come back with a more positive head tomorrow.
Hey, it's Chris here with a really quick message. Check us out on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. You'll find video clips, photos, and much more about everything we discuss on the show. Plus, it's a great way to get in touch, to tell us your thoughts, share your feedback, or just say hi. Follow us on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. And now, back to the show. Good morning. It is Sunday morning now, Sunday this, and I think I woke up probably more annoyed than I was last night, if that's possible. It's the worst thing, isn't it, about being a football fan, is that it just takes over your mood. I went to bed last night and my wife, Gabby, who doesn't really care about football, didn't know the result. And we were just chatting about other stuff, about the kids. And then she was like, "You're in a funny mood. Chelsea didn't win, did they?" And I was like, "No." It sort of like seeps through you, your general annoyance about the game. And yeah, it's my dad used to always say every time we won, it makes your weekend. Makes your weekend. It makes you want to, back in those days, get the newspaper the next morning, kind of just watch much of the day, drink it all in. And yeah, the exact opposite when the result doesn't quite go your way. At least, I mean, we didn't lose, but obviously when you concede like that in the last minute, it kind of feels like you have. But yeah, first thing I thought about when I woke up this morning was, that was shit, wasn't it? Yeah, Joe, a brutal, but I think very, very fair assessment on the game there from you. The positives that you picked out actually was basically what I was going to say in terms of some of those performances. Yeah, Pedro Neto is really looking like the player we were excited to get from Wolves, wasn't he? He's so quick as well. There was that run he went on in the second half, wasn't there, where he absolutely burned the defender, and he keeps putting those really dangerous pullbacks, and he's so, you know what I love about him? He's so two-footed. Like he's really happy going on either the left or the right, which makes him very difficult to defend against, actually. In a world now where so many wingers are very predictable in terms of their favoured foot, doesn't always mean you can stop them. The very best ones can always get away, you know. Ian Robben-esque, you knew he was getting on his left, but it didn't mean you could stop him. But Neto has got that real ability to go either way, which makes him so dangerous. And yeah, he was excellent. You mentioned it briefly there. The Mark Gui Tariq George thing was strange. It's since Maresca came out last night and said that basically he had a decision to make, and he felt like he wanted to give Tariq George a bit of confidence by picking him over Mark Gui. So Mark Gui was left obviously out of the squad. And I mean, come on. I know, like, you've got to keep the squad harmony and all that kind of thing, but that just feels crazy, doesn't it? This is a Premier League organisation. Obviously, Tariq George was so close to going to Fulham, as we know. On the last day, it fell apart basically after the deadline, didn't it? And you finally brought a striker back, put him in the squad. You know, you've got enough subs to surely have a proper centre forward up there. Like you say, Tariq George is a good player, but he's not a centre forward. And you'd have felt a lot better even in that last 10, 15 minutes when you had to bring off Joe Pedro. If like, I'm kind of with you, did you have to bring him off? But again, he felt he had to protect him for Wednesday. But you'd feel better about knowing that you can whack a few balls up for Mark Gui to chase, wouldn't you? So yeah, that kind of sentiment, unfortunately, like you say, in the Premier League, you can't really get away with. And yeah, the difference in level between obviously our superstars, but let's call it that first team lineup, to the B squad is concerning, actually. And I think the level in drop was dreadful. First half, we looked bang average, and it is a reminder that we are not in the Conference League this year. We cannot afford to probably change more than a couple of players and expect the level to stay as high as we need it to be. Really good point on Reece and Gusto. If needs be, play 45 each, but don't play a Wes Fofana out of position. We talked about the centre-backs we've got and the issue there. One thing I'll say is I really do feel for Maresca in that sense. He was very clear, wasn't he, before the season started, that the Colwell injury, which really looks like it has completely screwed us, maybe more than even we realised. We kind of saw ourselves how well Cole was playing at the end of last season in the World Club Cup, but maybe didn't realise just how pivotal he was to organising kind of the back for the alpha, as you say, Joe, in that position, kind of the one who started all the attacks, who was a little bit more dynamic, isn't he, with his pass, or a lot more dynamic with his passing and forward thinking. But he was so clear, Maresca, in that press conference before the season started that, yeah, with Cole's injury, we clearly need a centre-back. And he hasn't been backed. And for the life of me, I'm trying to work out why. One thing that is worth mentioning, and people don't need probably reminding, but we spent the best part, and I checked the figures this morning, it was the best part of £140 million on Wes Fofana, who, let's be fair, has basically been a crock for us in 3 years, so he's hardly played. He was half of that amount, and the other 75 million odd was on Badiashile and Disassi. And you're looking at those two thinking, well, that neither of them are anywhere near the team. Disassi's not even in the squad, he's in the bomb squad. You're thinking, God, if you could have that 150 million back now, you could go and get the two best centre-backs in the world pretty much, couldn't you? Or name an absolute world-class centre-back anywhere, Bastoni, Inter, whoever you want, you're going to get them. And it just looks like such a poor allocation of funds. And I just wonder if that's the reason we're a bit stuck in that area and they don't want to invest more money, is that they feel like they've already got £150 million worth of assets in the club, and before we get new ones, we need to get rid of those. Just so frustrating. And in that respect, I do feel sorry for Maresca, because he's got what he's got, and he wanted different options. I feel the Josh Achimpong situation is a little strange, and it'll be an interesting one to watch over the next couple of weeks in terms of what kind of game time he gets. We on certainly this pod both think he's incredibly good and very, very promising. He was the argument, wasn't he, that when we didn't get a centre-back, it was like because we didn't want to block his path and wanted to make sure he got good game time, etc. He plays in the first game of the season against Palace. Bar one moment was brilliant, gets man of the match, and hasn't had a kick of the football since. Like, I genuinely don't think he's had a minute since his man of the match display. How's he feeling about that? And when you're looking at, you've got Bayern Munich and Man United the next two games, is he going to bring him in for either of those? Because, again, it suddenly becomes he hasn't played for 6 weeks and just feels like a really unnecessary waste of, again, you'd forgive one or two of the mistakes that we're seeing at the back from a young guy like him, because you'd be like, he's going to learn from that. He's going to improve. But yeah, it's hard to feel the same when you're seeing it from the likes of Tosin, who I don't want to dig out too much, but a guy we know well, Roland, who's been on the pod, made a good point to take all of the sentiment out of it. If you saw Tosin and Chalobah playing for pretty much any other team in the Premier League in mid-table, you think that looked about right. And there are centre-backs, we're trying to be a title challenging side, and you can compare us to any of those top sides. Compare our centre-back options to Arsenal, compare it to Liverpool, compare it to Spurs. You take any of their centre-backs, put them in our team, and they would probably be, with Colwell out, number one. So that whole situation is a little bit painful, and I'm sure we're going to get bored talking about it, so we'll be conscious of that, but it is frustrating. Interesting one, I don't know if everyone would have seen this, but a strong rumour came out on Friday from Indicala on Twitter. I told you everyone was going to stay off Twitter, didn't I? But, it lured me back in for a day, who is basically a pretty reliable transfer source. Rumours that it's kind of managed by a few journalists, but anyway, saying that Mark Gay had met Chelsea since the move to Liverpool broke down, and discussions around a move either on a free at the end of the season or I guess on a cheaper fee in January have been discussed. It didn't necessarily specifically say he has chosen Chelsea, but it did say he's made it clear who his next club is, with the inclination that is going to be Chelsea. So that could be an interesting one to watch. Everyone kind of assumed when the move to Liverpool broke down that it was inevitable that he would just end up there. But I always thought, no, it doesn't ever work out that way. Very rarely does it? Like, you've seen it so many times with Chelsea where, that's what Elise say, when we tried to get him from Palace and he signed a new deal, and and obviously ends up at Bayern. I think once a move breaks down, it's kind of fair game for everyone again. So maybe that would be an interesting one to watch. I wonder if there's a cheaper deal to be done in January if needs be. But yeah, the early signs are that it is an area of concern for us. And you could have gone into the game today and sort of forgiven for thinking, well, actually, look at the stats. Chelsea have only conceded one goal, which was obviously the game at the Worldie against West Ham. But the reality of watching those games did tell you a different picture. I mean, Palace, obviously, as a goal that was disallowed was tight, but they had a couple of other good chances. West Ham themselves obviously had that goal disallowed where he did his little dance, but also had other good chances. And against Fulham, again, another goal disallowed. And again, other good chances. You just had this feeling that the goals against Colin was not really telling the whole story. And yeah, last night against Brentford, you concede 2, and not that they did anything clever, like you say, Joe, but you just thought, he looked quite vulnerable when the ball goes in the box. So yeah, a lot to be thought about there, and it'll be interesting to see what Maresca does, because he did fix this at the end of last season. We were defensively not great, but for a good period of last season, and then come the last 2 months, we were absolutely rock solid. So whether he can come up with something, I was sort of in my mind last night thinking, okay, if you had to be creative, what could you do? And the solution I came up with in my head, which I often do, was Reece James at centre-back. And effectively Chelsea become a 3, don't they, when we've got the ball. So it becomes a back 3 with right centre-back, which is West Fofana last night with Trev on the left, wasn't it, Tosin in the middle. In my head I was like, okay, what if your right centre-back was Reece James, which we saw quite a bit under Tuchel. You then have a centre-back with, maybe becomes Chalobah, for example. And then you could almost have Reece and Gusto on the pitch at the same time, maybe. Just thinking, would I feel a bit more secure with that option? The very clear counter-argument would be, and I think you've shared this concern before, Joe, would be lack of height. Reece is neither tall nor particularly dominant in the air. So against a bigger side like today, it probably wouldn't be an option, but I think it is something it would be interesting to think about, just thinking about getting your best players on the pitch, really. I'll hand back to Joe before, I guess, we look ahead to that Bayern Munich game in midweek. But yeah, Joe, what can we do? These are the players that we have at least until January. What would you do? What would you be looking at in terms of trying to fix this defence, just to look a little bit less vulnerable? Is there, one argument I think, which is fair, would be it's not just about the back 4, it is about the protection in front of them. We do look open. We looked open, didn't we? Right from that pre-season game against Milan, where and you kind of put it down to pre-season and fitness and stuff like that. But teams are getting through us pretty easily, sorry. And I wonder if the makeup of the midfield isn't quite working as well as it did at times last season for us. But yeah, what would you do? What's the answer?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I've had the pleasure of going to watch my son play football again today, so that's kind of taken the edge off my disappointment of yesterday a little bit. He has just gone and had a magnificent 4-4 draw in a very exciting game, and he managed to get the 4th goal, and they were 3-0 down, so that was a fantastic game of football. And it's sort of given me a little bit of I needed that, I think, this morning, just to clear my head and just get away from the annoyance of Brentford equalising in the last minute when all Garnacho had to do was go with his man. But there we go. What would I do with Chelsea's centre-half issue? I think the trouble is, if it was going to be fixed, it would have been fixed, and it wasn't. I don't hate the idea of what you're saying, Chris, with a Reece James centre-half kind of problem-solving kind of solution, but I just feel that if you're going to play him where he needs to play, would be right of the three. He would need to play, you'd have to have two centre-halves, and he plays on the edge, if you like, of that back three with two flying wing-backs. And Maresca's never going to do that, for one. And secondly, he's not big enough to play in a two. So you look at forwards in the Premier League. Okay, you go Gyökeres. He get out-muscled by him. Not out-muscled, sorry, but certainly out-jumped on certain things. You look at Isak, Haaland, Ollie Watkins. You can go through every team who's got an absolute beast of a player that plays up front. Sometimes they don't have to be good. They just have to be, the laws of physics will tell you that if someone's bigger than you, they're likely going to get to a ball earlier than you. When you play fullback, it's a little bit different because you're kind of, if the ball goes over a centre forward's head, you're kind of glancing it away. You're not having to fight amongst the penalty box. And I just feel as though Reece, as good as he is, and yeah, of course he could play there. There's no question in my mind that he could play anywhere. But I just don't think he is a long-term solution. Certainly not a solution until Christmas or January, when the window opens. So you're basically stuck with what you have. Now, what I would say is, if you have a very fit Wesley Fofana and he can come and play the rest of this season, then you don't really need a solution as such. You just kind of go, okay, we're going to go Wes, Chalobah, and it's going to be Reece or Gusto on right back and Cucurella or Hato at left back. That in itself kind of looks a lot better on paper. You feel much better about it when the lineup's announced. But as we and everybody else has mentioned, he's an injury waiting to happen. So we need to see a run of games from Fofana. I get why he played, because they wanted to use his height for the long throws and the corners and the free kicks. They kept getting bombed into the box. I completely understand why he was in the team, Fofana. It's just really frustrating when you've got two. Well, certainly, I know we've not been crazy about Gusto, but I think he's had a fairly good start to the season. But you've got two right backs, natural right backs, and you've got a centre half playing right back. It's very, very annoying. So yeah, the options are, or you simply stick with what you have, and you keep playing Tosin, and you keep playing Chalobah. But what I would do, if you are going to do that, and Maresca maybe his hands may be tied slightly there, is whenever you leave a 1v1, you don't leave Tosin at the back. Now, Trev might be better in the air at scoring a goal. I don't know if he is or if he isn't. But for me, Tosin is the one that goes up for the corners. And if you're going to leave yourself 1v1, you've got to leave Trev at the back, because he's a much better 1v1 defender. You can't keep leaving Tosin to sort of marshal that, because as you've seen in 2 games in a row in the Premier League, 2 players that you wouldn't exactly say are going to set the world on fire this season have made him look quite average and quite a basic looking defender. And I couldn't agree more with what Roland said on our WhatsApp group about them two being, Trev and Tosin as being, if that was a centre half partnership of, say, Fulham or Everton, you'd be like, yes, kind of what you expect. But look, it's what we have, and I'm not down on either of them. I just feel as though that if you're going to be an elite level team, we're going in with fairly mid players in that position, and when the goalkeeper's not elite behind you, it is a problem. We'll come on to the Bayern Munich preview in a moment. I think I'll just briefly finish by saying that, look, it's a decent enough result. Will teams go to Brentford and struggle? They're going to constantly throw the ball in the box and kick it in the box like they do. Yeah, I think they probably will. I think they'll cause teams some issues. But my bugbear, particularly with Premier League 3 points, is they're really hard to come by. So when you're in the 94th and a half minute, and all you have to do is track your runner, and again, I'm not digging Garnacho out here because he's played 12 minutes of football for Chelsea, but that is a basic thing. And I've looked at it again this morning. What annoys me more is he just walks off. He doesn't sort of go, guys, that's on me. That annoyed me a lot. I've got to be honest with you. I think making mistakes is one thing. In youth football, I coach well. I coach a lot of people, played at a high level. If you don't acknowledge the fact that you made an error, that's what annoys people more. And I think that all he had to do there was say, guys, I'm sorry. Maybe he's done that in the dressing room. I don't know. But it will get highlighted. But it just seems like you've played and you fought yourself back into the game. You weren't brilliant on the night. Maybe go and get yourself the win there by just following your guy in. That's all you have to do. But we didn't do that. And that is the basics of defending. And I don't care who you are. If you're not prepared to do those hard yards, you're never going to be an elite level team. So disappointing not to win. Of course, I think that comes across in all of our voice notes here in the Brentford game. We're desperately disappointed not to win the game. But I think we just have to look at it as like, we know we're not going to win the league. I think that's what it says to me. Well, strangely, you win that game last night. You kind of go, do you know what? Didn't play great last night again, but we haven't played great all season really. But we've got 10 points. Suddenly you've got 8 points, and I think that's the difference. That's what highlights it to me, is where winning the league or coming second, third, fourth, or fifth is where you kind of go. That's where you need to kind of improve. End of story. You've got to see games out. Liverpool have done it enough in the last year or so. Man City did it loads when they were winning the league year after year. Those are the moments, those are key moments in games where you just have to dig in and clear the ball 70 yards up the field. And, in the last minute, it doesn't have to be very pretty, just get rid of the ball. So, disappointing. I hope we can kind of get through our international window, i.e. the games that we've had, all those players coming back. I know that lots of people come from far away, and obviously players played in South America, they played across Europe, 1 game, 2 games, or whatever. But the games aren't going to stop. Like Marissa said, we've got Bayern Munich this week. We've then got Manchester United the week after, Lincoln, etc. The games, they're coming to come thick and fast. But I'm just hoping that we can kind of get everybody back for a while, get everybody back fit, close the squad in, get them nice and tight, get the message across as to what you want to do and how you're going to play. One really good positive last night was the emergence of Cole Palmer coming off the bench to score his goal, and what a great goal that was. That was such a classy finish. One what we're used to from him, and they've kind of been fully dried up of late, haven't they? So it was nice to see him bang that in the corner like he did. It was just really nice, sweet finish with his left foot. And hopefully that's kind of the kick that he needs. Some players just need that goal, and I'm hoping that he can kind of go now, yep, I'm back. And that's all I need. That's all I needed. I'm back. So fingers crossed that he's kind of got his mojo back. That'd be good. And I think it'd be really remiss of us not to mention the Caicedo strike, because of all the people that deserve goals sometimes, you look at him and you just say, the guy is an absolute beast of a player. Up and down, makes all the tackles, breaks all the play up, starts all the play. He's just everywhere, does everything. He's really becoming a fan's favourite for me, that's for sure. And when he can finish like that, if you've got a holding midfield player that can do that, then you're all right. You're doing okay for yourself. So what an outstanding strike. My son didn't see that last night. He was in bed. He went to bed at half time, and Caicedo is one of his favourite players, and he's on 2 of his shirts, and he's in his dream team too. So he's been chuffed with his goal contributions of late. And that strike that he did was just pure magic. It was hit like an arrow. Couldn't believe it when it went in. Like I say, on my first voice, that went completely berserk. I was like, that's it, we've done it. We'll see this out now, and sadly we didn't. But look, we'll have to leave it there on the game. It's a 2-2 draw. It's 4 London derbies in the book. Let's bear that in mind. And 8 points is not horrific. It's decent enough. It just would have been nice to have got 2 extra points to push yourself away from City, United, Newcastle, Spurs, etc. It would have been nice to have pushed away, but look, it didn't happen. We're still right in the mix. It doesn't really matter at this stage, but yeah, it was a bit of a blow, but we got to come back strong now on Wednesday night.
Right, well, let's look forward to Chelsea back in the Champions League. And I don't know about everyone else, but I am really, really excited to see Chelsea back in the big time. It feels like ages, doesn't it? Like, it actually isn't that long, really, when you look at kind of actual period of time. But bear in mind that the last time we played in the Champions League was against Real Madrid, and Frank Lampard was the manager. It just feels like a completely different time, doesn't it? And to be honest, if you look at the team that played that day and the squad in general, it's like a it's like a different club. But yeah, great to be back in it. Just, yeah, back where we belong, really. And to be fair, you couldn't really have much of a bigger first game back in, could you, than going back to the place that we obviously won the Champions League for the first time in 2012. And what I often say was the greatest night of my life, being there that night. I always tell my wife that our wedding day was the best day of my life, but by me it was the best night. But yeah, what do I want to say? I think, do you know what? I don't normally do this, but I'm going to give you my lineup, and I would actually quite like to see Maresca play pretty much the team that we played against PSG in the Club World Cup final. So I'd like to see us have a real go and go out with that kind of lineup, which was basically, if you remember, actually Gusto and Reece James played, and Reece basically played in a 3 with Caicedo and Enzo. We played Palmer off the right, but he had a bit of a free roll with Gusto overlapping, and obviously João Pedro up front and Neto on the left. So I would quite like to see that lineup, see if it was, hopefully it wasn't a one-off, a freak, brilliant performance, and it gives us that kind of solidarity of having that really strong 3 in there. You've obviously got Andre Santos as well, who can come on and add into the mix in the midfield if you need to as well. Big part of me always wants to see Esteval play right now, as I said on the last pod, but I think that lineup probably going there would need to be, you've got to focus on strong and centre backs. Obviously Chalobah played in the World Cup final, he plays for me, and it probably is Tosin, isn't it? I think, to your point there, Joe, like, there's only so much, you've got what you've got, haven't you? And you're probably not going to throw Josh Achimpong in a game of this magnitude. Fofana is just still getting back, isn't it? Again, Maresca said that the plan was for him to play 45 minutes on Saturday night. That was pre-planned. So yeah, that's what I'd like to see. And to be honest, more than anything, exactly as we saw in that PSG game, I'd just really like to see Chelsea give it a go. You know, it's a tough game. If you've looked at Bayern's results this year, they've won every single game, including winning the Super Cup at the start of the season. They won 5-0 last night. Nicholas Jackson coming on as a sub in that game. They are frightening. You know, that particularly that front line with lots of ex-Premier League players. In fact, there's a whole front line of ex-Premier League players, isn't it? With obviously Diaz, Elise and Kane being the real big names there. But yeah, it's a tough game, but I just want to see us have a real go and see what we can come out. If we come out with a good performance, number one, if come out with a good result, fantastic. But you know, there's a lot of games to play in this Champions League group stage. There's 8, isn't there, in this stage? So I don't think you press the panic buttons if you don't win that first game. But let's have a go and see what we've got. Yeah, see where we're at as a team. What we know will be different to all of the games in the Premier League so far this season is that Bayern will come at us. They will have probably the more of the ball. And so it's where you kind of look at the pace of, you know, my lineup, Gusto and Neto and getting João Pedro in behind. There will be space. And who knows? You know, who knows what we can do. It'd be good to see where we're at. But yeah, that would be my view on it. Really looking forward to it. Chelsea back, Champions League music, all the good stuff. And yeah, we go again.
I couldn't agree more, mate, with the idea of going to Bayern Munich and having a real go. I think that we mustn't feel as though there's some kind of superior power to us, because they're not. Bayern Munich are playing in a league which is, I hate to say it, not to be rude, but it's a bit of a farmers' league, quite frankly, a development league for players to improve. And, you know, I've just seen Bayern Munich's last 10 results against Hamburg, and I'm going to get this wrong, but it's something like 6-0, 5-0, 6-0, 4-0, 3-1, 6-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. Now, we know that Bayern Munich have got the league sewn up every single season. If they attempt to go for it, even kind of with half, you know, one eye on the Champions League or whatever, they still manage to get through and win the league at a canter. So I think Leverkusen obviously took it off them a couple of years ago, but other than that, it's theirs to lose. And it's a little bit, I don't know, is it a good thing? I don't think it's a great thing personally. There needs to be more competition in that league. Bayern are clearly the most decorated team in Germany, and obviously rightly so, they have a very good side, but we certainly need to go there with an air of we're the world champions about us, because I think that will stand us in good stead. Yes, Harry Kane and Elise, etc., and Diaz, the players you've mentioned there, Chris, excellent players, but Kane is definitely on the wane. Now, I'm not saying that he can't score a goal or he wouldn't score a goal against us, but we've all seen him play for England of late, and he's not quite the player he once was. He's definitely lost a yard of pace. There's no doubt about it. Equally, as we've mentioned, our back four is not exactly glowing with superlatives at the moment. So, yeah, it's going to be a battle, I think, in that department. But I do believe that we've got enough to go there and cause them some real problems. I believe, if my memory serves, Aston Villa won against them at home in the opening fixture against Bayern Munich last season. They're not a team to be feared. I don't look at anybody in the Champions League anymore as a team to be feared. They're all very good sides. The English teams are the ones, in my eyes, are the ones that, if you're going to be fearful of anybody, they're the ones to kind of keep an eye on. But listen, Bayern Munich are by no means going to be a pushover. I don't see us going there and wiping the floor with them. But by all means, Chelsea, if you go there and play into their hands, and that's sitting back and play this slow, ponderous football like you did against Brentford this week, then you are going to put yourself under pressure. If you go there with an attitude of getting in behind early, causing them problems, Estevan behind, Palmer in behind, etc., then yeah, you're going to give yourself a chance. And what goes in our favour slightly is that Bayern Munich will likely come at us, which should provide some really good options for Pedro Neto, for Estevan, to use their pace and use their skills for those on-rushing players like Enzo Fernandez or João Pedro, Cole Palmer. And we must make sure that we are causing them as many problems as they're causing us, because, like we said before, if we do go there with this kind of feeling of, it's Bayern Munich in the Allianz, you're beaten before you've started, and that's just not becoming of this Chelsea side. But look, let's just say we get the worst result and we do lose. We'll need to learn from it very quickly and understand that we've then got 7 fixtures to find our way through to the knockout stages. And okay, I think it's the top 8 positions that go through to the kind of that non-playoff round, if you like. If we can get into that, brilliant, but we must make sure we get into the next 8 positions at the very least, obviously qualify for the next round. And, that's where the money comes into it. That's where the prestige comes back into it. And I hope that Chelsea can be one of those sides that are qualifying for the latter stages and we go long into this competition, because, like you say, Chris, we've been out of it for a little while now, but we have great pedigree in this competition. And when we're in it, we tend to do very well in it. So I'm excited to be back. I'm excited for the game on Wednesday night. I think it's a game where we need to be aggressive, but not reckless, and show the rest of Europe what they've been missing for the last 2 or 3 seasons, because fingers crossed, this Chelsea are back.
Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.